first of all, it sounds like the most thrilling moment in maybe the Super Bowl, right? It's awesome.
For 3 hours.
Oh, it's awesome.
You like it.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
We're going to sit you
love
center
kids
court.
having a good time.
Yeah, but just you got to wear earplugs. Gives me a headache.
Oh, I'm not going to be there.
Oh, see.
I said when you listen to the radio. Actually, man. I may be there, but inside because I think Buzz Williams and Co. are doing a press conference around that time.
Okay. It's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looked so good as it does with Maroon U. If you want to interact with the show, Boss Firearms Hotline, Little Sluggers text line, 979-693-1150. Put Juan Carlos to work. And the holistic planning tools on the NFL recently became the last of the big four North American sports leagues to allow private equity firms to acquire ownership stakes in its teams. You know what the only NFL team was to do that?
The Packers.
The Packers. I don't even know if it was private equity, but anybody could buy stake in the Packers. For years, professional sports, was investing, was reserved for the ultra wealthy, not anymore. If you are interested in learning more about professional sports investing, and to determine if it may be appropriate for you, holistic planning is your ticket. Go to investinprosports.com today. Again, we would normally be standing over there, but nobody wants to see my body. Like I'm covered. The worst parts of me are covered by the desk, and everybody's good about that. Like I got a moneymaker, okay, and it stops about my shoulders. That's it.
A moneymaker?
A moneymaker. You don't mess with the moneymaker. So just put the moneymaker on camera. Not the rest.
You're talking about your face.
Yeah.
Your face is the money maker.
That's right.
Monopoly money.
Oh, man. So how much,
peso.
I'll be honest with you, how much, I didn't listen to 1 second of the show yesterday. How much college football playoff rankings did y'all talk? The entire hour?
I don't think it even came up.
Did it? What did y'all talk about?
I don't know. We talked about other things.
You're only here every day. Nick, can you remember what they talked about yesterday?
They briefly mentioned it.
Okay, so let's get into it then. Perfect.
Okay.
I'm glad that y'all did. Thanks for leaving a little meat on the bone for me, Nuno, so we can talk about this stuff this morning. And I really just have – I want to get into it from a perspective of pretenders versus contenders and where you rank these teams on the hierarchy here as we go into the middle of November.
Because my column was I ranked what I thought should be the 1 through 12.
Well, then you should have all the answers. Okay, so let's do this. Let's start with a team. You're going to answer pretender or contender.
Okay.
And then give me a few reasons why, and I'll see if I can't play devil's advocate on a few. But we're going to start with the Aggies. Number 14, 7-2, bye week, then New Mexico State, at Auburn, then Texas comes here. Are the Aggies contenders or pretenders?
Oh, contenders. I think they're going to beat, we all know they're going to beat New Mexico State. I think they'll beat Auburn on the road. And then if you're playing for a chance to go to the SEC championship game in your last game of the year, you are by definition a contender.
Yes, I agree. I would 100% agree. I can't play devil's advocate there. If you're just looking at it on the surface, I think the Auburn game, especially when we start diving into what A&M's got going on offensively, Le'Veon Moss, will Chase Basantis be back? I think that's an injury that's kind of flown under the radar in terms of its importance. But it's hard for me to sit here today on November 7th and say, I think Auburn's going to beat the Aggies in Jordan-Hare. Could it happen? Yes, but the way A&M has played defense for the most part this season, for the vast majority of the year, I have a really hard time seeing Auburn score enough to win that game. And again, all it is about to cement yourself as a contender this season in college football is I don't care if you win that game 2-0, Olin.
Yeah, just win.
It's getting to that final weekend, getting to November 30th against Texas, where you're playing essentially for a playoff spot, because I don't believe that the SEC runner-up, the team that loses the SEC title game, is going to be left out of the playoff.
Well, I'm not as confident as you are in that. I think if you have 3 losses, even if that third loss came in the SEC championship game, I think you're holding your breath and you're not taking it for granted.
I think you're going to be 11 or 12, 10, 11 or 12, but I think it warrants – but you never know with how they're going to weigh the schedules,
right? And I never trust committees where A&M's involved.
Okay, so we both think A&M's a contender until proven otherwise. Indiana.
Oh yeah, they're a contender. They're not going to lose. They're going to lose to Ohio State, but I think they beat Michigan this week, and they're going to be at the worst 11 when they're going to get into the playoffs.
Their strength of schedule is bad.
It's terrible.
But on the flip side, their closest game has been 14 points, and they're undefeated.
Right.
So they can only play what's in front of them, and they're beating them handily.
Yeah, I think they're going to go 11-1.
And you know what? Their last week in East Lansing, they got off to a slow start like A&M did in South Carolina. And what did you see Indiana do? I mean, they scored 47 unanswered.
Yeah, South Carolina's a lot better
than
Michigan State. Yeah,
and they
played two teams that are 5-4, and those are the best teams they played. So I think it's Nebraska and Michigan State are the two best teams they played.
Get off on a tangent. Nebraska, where are you at on Nebraska?
They're okay.
More on a long term. They bring in Dana Holgerson to help with their offense.
They're trying to get bowl eligible.
Weird, but they haven't been bowl eligible since 2018.
Yeah, something like that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy that I grew up in an era where it was like Nebraska football was. They were like Georgia. Everybody was chasing them.
Yeah, especially in the 90s. They were far and away the best program. Look, they're having some problems with their quarterback, making mistakes.
True freshman.
He's a freshman. Yeah. That happens. If you bring in and start a true freshman quarterback, you're going to have highs and lows.
Essentially what A&M's dealing with Marcel.
Yeah.
And he played, 2 games last year? So he came in essentially as a freshman, a true freshman. All right, Colorado, you got to have the conversation.
I think they're contenders right now.
Okay.
I don't think.
Would you have said that 3 weeks ago?
Oh, no. But they've won. Look, could they win I might not say it next week. I mean, they're the team that can't afford another loss. But when they lost to Kansas State by 3.
They're on the road at Lubbock.
If they lose that game, right, I think it's one of the better games to watch.
But the rest of it, it's all. I mean, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. This might be their year. If they go on the road and win in Lubbock, they got a chance to win the Big 12.
Right.
And you got to give Deion credit. I mean, coming into the year, they were picked, middle, bottom of the pack. I think their over-under on wins was 6.5.
Well, they greatly benefit by moving to the Big 12, which isn't very good.
Sure. And they got some huge breaks. Was it Baylor?
Yeah, Baylor let them have a.
But they've also run off and left UCF and Arizona. I know those aren't great teams, but this is just, I don't know. They got a bad loss.
What's their good win? What's their really good win?
They don't have one.
Right. They're kind of like Indiana with a loss.
Well, they got 2 losses, right? They lost to Kansas State and they lost to Nebraska.
So they can't lose again.
Yeah, that's why I would probably lean toward them being pretenders right now.
Well, I guess when I'm saying contenders are we saying a contender to get into the playoff?
Is it real?
Are you asking if I'm going to well, in the Big 12, it is real. If they're in any other conference, they would not be.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just have a hard time. I think they're going to lose in Lubbock. I think they're going to lose. We'll talk about games tomorrow.
That's why I say if you ask me that next week, I may have a different answer.
All right, BYU.
Oh, yeah, they're contenders. Look, they're unbeaten, they're probably going to get in, yes.
Yeah, and I think the more you watch that team play, I've actually stayed up and watched a lot of BYU. They're fun. I think they are, what's the word? They're a dangerous team to get in as a lower seed in the playoff. I think that there's an upset. I don't think I guess if they win the Big 12, they aren't going to host a playoff game. But let's say they got to the 6th seed, or 7. If there's a team that's got to go to Provo, that's going to be a problem. That's a tough place to win.
Well, who do you think is going to be the host? Who do you think are going to be the host?
That's the argument, right? It's the Big 12. They're going to get one as a top 4 seed because somebody's going to win the league, and then who's the other one? The only way
Boise or Army?
Yeah, they're going to that G4 team's going to have to go in, right?
No, they get it. Yeah,
they get a spot. But does the Big 12 get a second spot? Is what I'm talking about. And if the Big 12 were to get a second spot, that means Colorado would have to win it.
I would be very skeptical that the Big 12 would get 2 teams in.
The only path to that is Colorado winning it and BYU
with one loss
being the at large.
And then I think that's their path. And look at their strength of schedule.
Yeah, and would take in a loss in the Big 12 title game that late again. That's why I don't know how can you penalize a team for losing in a game that not everybody has to play in a conference championship game.
They have before.
I know, but it was different when it was 14. Now there's 12, and there's more of an argument to let those teams in. I think if you're looking at a season-long resume, you can't really penalize a team for a snapshot of it. You know what I'm saying? So, but you're right. You're putting trust in a committee of people instead of taking it into your own hands. But The only path for me for the Big 12 to get to is that Colorado wins the thing and then BYU's the runner-up, and they get in as like a 7, 8, 9 or something like that. All right, Tennessee.
Well, what have they got? One loss?
Yeah, they lost to Arkansas.
Arkansas. They've beaten Alabama, so they've got a good win.
We'll see. We'll see what that win means.
Well, it's a good win. It's going to be a good win.
They beat Alabama at home. It's as good a win as A&M's got.
Isn't Alabama ranked 11th in this thing?
Well, right, but they're going to play LSU. They almost lost to South Carolina. Like it's not as quality of a.
We find out about Tennessee next week. When they play Georgia. But
so they're pretenders.
But if you ask me today, I'd say
I'm out.
If you ask me, are they contenders today? I say yes. If you ask me if I think that they're going to get in, I'd say no.
I'd call them pretenders. I think Vanderbilt can beat them in the final week.
Well, Vanderbilt can.
Obviously,
who you
Georgia.
pick in that game?
If they were playing right now,
yeah,
I'd pick Vanderbilt.
Okay, all right.
I think Vanderbilt can play defense, and I think until I see something out of the Tennessee offense that makes me go, "Wow, that's what I expected going into the year." I got big questions about Tennessee.
Oh, I understand that.
I would have them on my pretenders list.
I personally thought Nico Iamaleava was the most overrated player, or I should say, overhyped player throughout the whole offseason. And that's been proven.
Penn State.
Penn State is a pretender.
I think so too. And they're going to play a schedule. They're probably going to go 11-1. And I don't think they should get in.
I wonder who they have left.
I can look it up. We probably should have done this and given Nick all these teams, and Nick could have made really pretty graphics for us. Penn State, Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, and Maryland. They're probably going 11-1.
Then I have,
and they might get a home playoff game.
If they're 11-1, they're a contender. So I have to change that. They're a contender.
See, maybe I should have done a better job of explaining what I mean by contender or pretender.
Okay,
do you think they're any good?
Do I think they're going to be one of the 12 teams?
That would make them a contender, sure. But do you believe in them? Are they real?
I'm skeptical, but you know what? They lost by 1 touchdown to Ohio State, and they got to win over Illinois.
Again, though, there was coaching malpractice at the end of that Ohio State game, and you jumped out. Was it a 14-0 lead?
I don't think they're a great team, but I think they're going to have a great record. Now, if you kind of like Missouri, but I tell you, I think Missouri's a pretender. Kind of like
what is their tough?
Like the whole Big 12.
Where did Penn State? They didn't play anybody on the road, right? Oh, USC was their big road win.
Yeah, and they struggled a little bit, but they came back.
Right, what would you compare a road win at USC to this year? A road win in the SEC. A road win where? Arkansas?
Yeah, maybe.
Florida?
Vanderbilt?
Yeah, but I think it's tougher to go into Vanderbilt notwithstanding, but I think it's tougher to go into Arkansas or Florida than it is to USC. Anyway, it's an interesting discussion.
I don't know. I haven't been to Arkansas since 2013.
Well, I just know that their home record has actually been pretty brutal. All right, last two here. SMU.
No, I don't. I'm not believing in SMU. I know they have the record.
They go undefeated.
They've already got a loss.
I mean, talking about in the ACC.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to.
Boston College, Virginia, and Cal. Your Cal Bears may be.
That's screaming undefeated or
one loss. The ACC might have a problem with. Well, they won't now because Louisville beat Clemson.
Right.
But they were on their way to a problem with SMU, Clemson, and Miami were all undefeated. There was essentially the drawing of straws.
Who did SMU lose to?
Casting of lots.
I don't even know who SMU lost.
SMU lost to. It was a early season loss. BYU.
Okay.
18-15.
So SMU. We're going to see. Is it going to be SMU versus Miami in the ACC championship game?
Yeah, and all the Atlantic Coast Conference in Dallas, Texas. Atlantic Coast playing Miami. One makes sense, one doesn't. That's where we're living in.
Could be Cal.
Yeah,
could be Cal or Stanford.
I think Cal's got a few years before they're playing the ACC title game. You know what they're calling it though? The All Coast Conference.
That makes sense.
That would make more sense, right?
Because you got almost every ocean except the Indian one. All right. And they'll probably add that one.
You're going to have the University of Dubai?
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. All right, when we come back, more to get to with OB. We got to do Heisman Watch, and we'll get McGee here at the bottom of the hour. Listen to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. And welcome back to TexAgs Live. Ryan Brauninger, B-Team Edition, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers inside the Rollo Insurance Studios. We're going to go to Heisman Watch like we do every Thursday around 8:20, presented by Shirtlift Law Firm, the Heisman Watch. Brought to you by Shirtlift Law Firm. Hunter's a friend of our company, and we trust him with our legal needs. Call Shirtlift Law today when you need a lawyer for your business or personal issues. OB?
We might have maybe a relative, a distant relative of Hunter's.
What's that?
Hunter. Never mind. We'll get to it.
Oh, Travis Hunter. Has he finally made your list?
Yeah, I finally broke down.
Yeah, you finally caved.
Caved to the Brauninger pressure. But he's not even last on my list.
Heavy I am.
You are.
A lot of pressure.
Let's go. Feel free to
I'm going to tell you you're wrong. Go ahead.
Feel free to disagree. Number 5 on my list, Jackson Dart, the Ole Miss quarterback, is back in the rankings. He returns after passing for 515 yards and 6 touchdowns in that 63-31 rout of Arkansas.
They waxed Arkansas.
They did. He leads the nation with 3,464 yards of total offense. That's 3,210 yards passing and 21 touchdowns. He's rushed for 254 and 3 TDs.
Sam Pittman coming back next year? Should he and will he?
My guess is no.
Should he?
Probably.
What's the ceiling on Arkansas football right now? Tough job now.
Yeah.
It's a real tough job. Tougher job.
In most years, the ceiling is probably 8 wins.
Okay. Anyway, didn't mean to derail. Go ahead.
Number 4, Brauninger's guy, Travis Hunter, the Colorado wide receiver / quarterback. Now, the Buffaloes were open last week. So in his most recent game, let's remember he had 9 catches for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 34-23 victory over Cincinnati. Also broke up 4 passes as a cornerback and was the Big 12 offensive and defensive players of the week. Overall, he's 12th in the nation in receiving. He's caught 60 passes for 757 yards, has 8 touchdowns. He's defensively broken up 7 passes and intercepted 2.
Again, to me, his inclusion in that list was worthy because of just the amount of snaps he was playing compared to everybody else. And he's impacting games on both sides of the ball. I think he's the first person to ever win Offensive and Defensive Player of the Week in the Big 12. Maybe in college. I don't know. I saw a stat. I was just scrolling through it on Twitter, but I didn't stop and look. But anyway, I think it's a worthy inclusion. I'll be interested to see how you have 3 through 1 arranged to see if I think he should go up.
Okay, number 3, Dylan Gabriel, the Oregon quarterback, another strong performance in that 38-17 victory over Michigan, passed for 294 yards and a touchdown, also ran for a score. He's 9th nationally in passing with 2,665 yards, and he's thrown 19 touchdown passes.
And he's really gone from not off the radar as a player because he was a high-profile transfer when he went to Oregon, but with kind of how they started with the struggle against Idaho and Boise State, like he's needed these big performances to burst back onto the radar, similar to Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
And he's done it. And I think he's some credit for it. I would have Travis Hunter above Dylan Gabriel right now.
Okay. Number 2 on my list is Ashton Jeanty, the Boise State running back, the nation's leading rusher, had 149 yards and 2 touchdowns in that 56-24 victory over San Diego State, which designed its entire defense to do nothing but stop Ashton Jeanty. So their quarterback had a big game. His season totals increased to 1,525 yards and 20 touchdowns, averaging 8.3 yards a carry.
For Ashton Jeanty to win it, he has to get to 2,000 yards.
Oh, he's going to get to 2,000.
Right, but he can't have any slip up.
I think he's on his way to challenging.
And 25 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he's on his way to challenging Barry Sanders' record.
And if he gets in that conversation, because the Barry Sanders year was the greatest performance we've ever seen by a running back season long, and if he gets in that conversation, then I don't know how he doesn't. There's going to be enough there to at least pull some votes away from whoever the top guy is.
He'd have to rush for about 1,000 yards in their last 4 games to do it. So it's not going to be easy, but he can do that.
But he can go for 300 one game.
Right.
And,
Yeah. So number 1 on my list is Cam Ward, the Miami quarterback. He bounced back from a pedestrian showing the previous week to throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in a 53-31 come from behind victory over Duke. Ward is 3rd in the nation in passing. He's thrown for 3,146 yards and 29 touchdowns. He's also rushed for 3 touchdowns.
I got tagged in an old photo that I took of Cam Ward at Texas A&M camp. The Miami fan base got a hold of it, and it was from like 2018.
Yeah.
Colombia kid.
Why isn't he
roughneck.
here?
Yeah.
Why isn't he here?
Yeah, it's an interesting recruiting story because he kind of flew under the radar. Remember, he started at Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like A&M was the only school that passed him by, but I think he would have walked from Columbia to College Station out of high school if they'd have given him an opportunity. But again, it's not like A&M was the only school that didn't go on him. He started at Incarnate Word.
So who did they offer that year instead of him?
Calzada, 2018. Was that the Calzada year? I'd have to go back and look. It would have been the class of 2019, which I do think it was Calzada. It's interesting. I wrote an article about that recently, just about. It was after A&M landed Helam and Kasuga in the 26 class.
So let me get this straight. A&M passed on the quarterback that had to go to Incarnate Word and took the quarterback that had to go to Incarnate Word.
Ended up at Incarnate Word. The one name that you didn't mention in your Heisman, your top 5, and I'm not saying he should be there, but the biggest mover in terms of Vegas betting odds, you know who it's been?
Tell me.
Curtis Rourke.
Curtis Rourke.
And with the injury to was it his thumb that they had to get surgically repaired, and he came back in a week. I think it's more not as his personal success, but because of the Indiana storyline probably has really ramped his odds up. I don't think he can win it, but that would just be like the only guy that I thought maybe could flirt with that 5 spot.
Well, he's 16th in the nation in passing. He's thrown for 2,204 yards, 19 touchdowns, three interceptions.
It's just I'm not saying he should be on there, but he's according to what I'm looking at, he's made the biggest move in terms of Vegas odds.
The only time I've ever questioned whether or not Matthew Dawson was a genius is when he told me to start putting the Navy quarterback.
Okay. All right. Well, you can talk to a quarterback genius on the other side of the break. How about that? Stephen McGee joins us on the show when we return on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live. Bottom of the 8 o'clock hour on a Thursday morning. Ryan Brauninger in the host chair for today and tomorrow. Nuno will be back to start next week. Olin Buchanan to my left, Juan Marcos Palomo. Over in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Like your politics, love your bar. Find an Angry Elephant near you in Bryan, College Station, Magnolia, and San Antonio. If you want to interact with the show, 979-693-1150, Little Sluggers text line. And we go out right now to the Boss Firearms hotline to join our quarterback, our favorite financial planner. Hey, and let me ask you this, Stephen. In your wealth of financial knowledge, do you think you could put together a vacation for Olin to Dubai? He really wants to go.
I don't know. There's enough money in College Station for that, buddy.
Well, we just looked at $1,400 for a flight, so I figure with you could finagle some things and get him over there. He wants to go to the beach in Dubai.
I don't. He's lying because from what I understand, there's nothing there I could Dubai.
All right, McGee.
Well said.
All right, take us through the therapy session, right? Aggies, really, I think the final score was not indicative of how close the game was last Saturday night, or maybe it was if you look at it on the whole and how A&M played. But just your takeaways from, let's start with the offensive performance and really Marcel Reed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the score's indicative of, really. I feel like we were in that game and we could have won it. Now, they beat us. They punched us in the face. They beat us in all three phases. And I think we got outcoached. I think we got outplayed. And I think we got to play better at every position. I think it could be healthy, though. I'm not discouraged by this football team at all. I think that we're headed in the right direction. And we're still atop the SEC last I checked. So everything's in front of this football team. And sometimes having a chip on your shoulder is a good thing, especially coming off a big win. And, that game, unfortunately, set up terribly for us, coming off the big win against LSU. And, they're a good football team. They're not, I'm not trying to say that they're a top 10 football team, but they're a good football team. And we just didn't play well. Marcel, I didn't feel like was the reason why we didn't win that football game. I thought he did some really good things. And, I think the one part about his game, and you expect this of young quarterbacks, especially though he's shown to be very clean with the football year before that game, is the turnover. That can't happen. That was very costly. It took points off the board, and that ball's got to be in the third row. It was a misread, in my opinion, on the zone read. He should have given that football. He pulls it. The end's there waiting on him. Now he's forced to get rid of it, and he should have thrown it out of bounds. Now, the other issues were the four times the football was on the ground. And it wasn't that we lost those. We only lost one fumble, I know, but it's setting up this offense into 2nd and 18 that really breaks the back, and it's a drive killer. So that kind of stuff has to be cleaned up if we're going to have any chance.
Yeah, the only time that I think I have seen Marcel panic was on that interception. Like, you could tell he got sped up, his feet got sped up, and he panicked and made a bad decision. Stephen, when you looked at the injury to Le'Veon Moss, what are your thoughts on how it impacted, A, that game, and B, what the offense looks like going forward?
It's tough. I've said this in times before on the show, is Gary Kubiak used to reference good football teams handling crisis well. And, in a normal course of a year, all football teams deal with 3 major crises, and here's one of them, right? You had the loss to Notre Dame, quarterback issues, and now you lose your star football player. Look, I felt like that guy was the heartbeat of this football team, especially offensively. The way he played. He's a tough runner and obviously a really good football player. It's going to be tough without him. And, I think hopefully getting Basantis back will help a little bit, that physicality. And it's not to say Amari Daniels is not a good football player. He certainly is. But when you're looking for tough yards between the tackles, I felt like we really did miss Moss.
Stephen, and, tell me if I'm speaking of ignorance here.
Probably.
It may be. I would like to see more sprint out, roll out, bootlegs and things like that incorporated to the offense to take full advantage of Marcel's skill set. Is it too late to try to incorporate those things in?
It's never too late. I agree with you, OB. I thought Marcel was at his best in this football game when we were in 5 wides, and they were still lining up in single high defense. And if the easy throws are there, we hit Yeah, I just drew a blank on number one's name right now. God,
Jabari
I can't
Barber.
think right now. The Barber. Thank you. It's early morning for me. There were some easy completions on a little looky route where he's more or less running an option route and he gets across the guy's face. But they are, running a 5-0 front up front and trying to get after the quarterback. And so that was, easy for him to get the ball out of his hands and get big chunk plays. Now, on the flip side is there was times when it wasn't there, he takes off running. And, when you're in 5 wides and you have guys running downfield, there's no one left in the box. And if you escape the rush, which he's really good at, those create some explosive runs as well. But to your point, OB, I think what South Carolina did a good job of in the zone read game is saying, hey, we're going to force you to give the ball to the running back. We're not going to let Marcel pull the ball and get it on the edge, similar to that interception play. But when they do that, you've got to have plays where you can use Marcel's athleticism, both as a passer and a runner, get him on the perimeter, whether it's a sprint play or what we refer to as a net getter keeper, where you fake the run and you get him out on the edge on the perimeter. I totally agree. I think that they will try to hopefully incorporate more of that in weeks moving forward.
Stephen, we talk about, there's been a lot of talk about moving somebody to play running back, and maybe Terry Bussey goes back there to try to fill some of the void left by Le'Veon. How feasible is it this late in the year for somebody that hasn't played the position day in, day out to go back there and impact games?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've kind of speculated on as well is, getting him some more reps, just trying to get an explosive playmaker in the backfield. And I think the liability and the concern you have with a young guy when you plug and play, albeit I think running back is an easy position for true freshmen to come in and play immediately. The difficulty is when the ball's not in their hands, right? Mm-hmm. Are they a complete pass blocker on third down? Do you trust them to understand the front and who they have in that pass pro? I think that if I'm a coach, that's my biggest concern, because you can't just put them in there when you're running the football, because obviously the defense will know, oh, here comes Bussey, they're going to run it. And then making sure that he understands, how to line up and in the pass game and all the routes he has there as a receiver out of the backfield. So I think that is the answer, and he's got to step up and be ready to fill that role. I would be shocked in weeks moving forward if Bussey's not more involved in the run game.
Right, that would make sense. Hey, something I want to ask you as a quarterback, something I've always thought about. Why not? And you may laugh at me. I don't blame you. I don't blame you if you do. But why? And I'm talking about obvious passing situations. There's obvious passing on third down. Why not put another lineman back there and take out the running back if you're going to be going in full protection and just replace that fullback with a guard?
Yeah. Yeah, you could.
Would you feel more protected?
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah.
You don't have to say you don't have to play along just because you're not wanting me to look bad. You can tell me the truth. What you think about that?
Tell me the truth, Stephen.
It's an interesting, it's something I could see the Detroit Lions doing, right? I mean, they put the offensive lineman out in the back.
Best coach in the NFL.
So Mike McCarthy wouldn't do it, but Dan Campbell might?
Yeah, 1,000%. You said it well.
Mike McCarthy would be more likely to move the running back to the line than a lineman. That buffoon.
All right, Stephen, take us through the player mindset, right? You have a tough loss on the road. And I sat on this desk in our TexAgs pregame show before the LSU game and said, I think A&M needs to split one of these two. At home against LSU and on the road at South Carolina, there was some wiggle room. You're out of it now. So you go on the road and you lose a game on the SEC in a tough environment. There's no sin in that. You got your nose bloodied. It happens. When you come back home, does the bye week come at a good time or a bad time? Because I would feel like I would want to get the taste out of my mouth.
Back on the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're right. You get back on the horse, get back to work. Sometimes bye weeks can be a blessing. Sometimes they can be a curse. I think in this case, the blessing I see in it is, you get some guys that are dinged up, healthy late in the year. There's, everybody's dealing with bumps and bruises at this point of the year. Everyone's hurt. Everyone's bruised. That's the benefit. Get Basantis back 1 week closer to being able to play. I mean, I don't know what the status is of, the other guys that have been hurt, this year. would love to see, you know, that element of it. But to your point is, you got to be able to have a mature football team to approach the bye week as if, you know, you're focused on the fundamentals and a chance to freshen up on, hey, like, things you don't get to do during a normal course of a week for quarterback. Work on your feet, work on your drops, making sure you're doing some of those fundamental things in the pocket that you normally don't have time to do because you're doing X's and O's. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's good to always digest a loss more quickly. This one's going to sit on their stomachs for an extra week, and at the end of the day, though, I take it as a good thing. I want to see this football team bounce back and have a chip on their shoulder.
Did we lose McGee? I think we may have lost him. And it's okay. We got to go to break anyway. When we come back, we'll see if we can get McGee back. A little slow internet connection. Got some more questions for Stephen about last Saturday night and what it looks like going forward. We'll be right back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live. Real short segment here to close the hour, going back to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Talk to Stephen McGee. Stephen, I just have a couple of questions here. I got about 2 minutes before we got to get to the end of the hour. Where you have the most concern offensively for this team over the last 3 games, excuse me?
Yeah, it's a good question. Coming off I feel like if we get Basantas back, I shift my focus away from the offensive line. And the reason I would say that is the offensive line wasn't bad. I just felt like there were some mismatches against a good South Carolina front. And knowing that we're going to play some good fronts if we're going to play at the level we want. And without Moss back there running the football, I think we need to have good protection. My focus offensively is going to be on the wide receivers.
Okay, and then conversely, what is the area of the offense where you anticipate making a big step forward over this final run-in?
Yeah, I think the versatility of the offense, and OB kind of spoke on that. If Marcel Reed is your quarterback, you would expect us to be able to do a lot of different things and different looks with a quarterback that's active in the run game. I think that's got to be the strength of any offense with a quarterback that is as athletic as Marcel is. He creates numbers advantages no matter the front, no matter the look.
I'll put you on the spot. A couple of names of players that you like to step up with either Le'Veon out or to propel the offense here as we get ready for this final push through November.
Well, there's no doubt the number one guy's got to be Marcel. He's got to be the kid that we saw against Florida in the second half of the LSU game. He's got to be a spark plug for this football team. The other guy is Barber. I feel like he's come on really strong the last couple of weeks and has shown something. And at a receiver group that's been pretty flat this year, I think he's the one guy that I would look to.
I still got Terry Bussey. There's a big game, big moment coming for Terry Bussey. I don't know when. I hope it's soon. Actually, I hope it's on November 30th. But I don't care when it happens. If it's happening against Auburn or Texas, I think Terry Bussey's got a big one in him where everybody in the country goes, oh, yeah, that kid's special. Stephen, thank you for your time, man.
All right, fellas. See you guys.
All right, Ryan Swope on the other side of the break. We roll right along on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. A little fighting Texas Aggie Dub Miller bringing you back in the 9 o'clock hour. I'm Ryan Brauninger, the B Team Day of TexAgs Live, presented by David Carter's Jewelers continues inside the Rollo Insurance Studios. OB has stuck around, not the star of the show now, as he typically is. We welcome in OB's favorite player, Ryan Swope.
The best career of a wide receiver in Texas A&M history.
I would agree, and Mike Evans would agree.
Yeah, and
Mike Evans says he's the best player best receiver he's ever played with.
And
he's just being nice.
What a couple of tough receivers then. When you and Evans, who was the toughest?
Man, I feel like I'll give that one to Mike.
Really?
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a tough guy.
Yeah, he is. No,
but you would go over the middle. You took big hits and held onto the ball.
I'll never forget when Mike Evans came in as a true freshman in the indoor, getting ready for camp. And I think Dustin Harris, we were doing 7-on-7, and he mossed Dustin Harris. And from that point on, I was like, this guy is different.
And in what way? In what way did?
Oh, and honestly, he was the greatest teammate I've ever played for. I mean, he would go to war for you. He wanted to go dig out a safety. He wanted to go dig out a linebacker. You just love it. You love seeing that. He was a physical receiver. And he just has an ability to go up and get the football. It's fun to watch.
A couple of weeks ago, before the LSU game, Donnie Baggs was in here with a recruit, and Donnie said that y'all were doing a team. It was like in spring ball, and y'all were doing team stuff, and you ran across the middle, and Donnie like checked you, and you fell, and Donnie's like, Swope got up, looked right at me, and goes, "Okay, Donnie, if that's how it's going to be." And he said the next time they ran sweep to that side, Swope cracked him and just stood over him and walked off.
Well, was it? Didn't you have?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Didn't you have a really big block against Mississippi State on a Johnny scramble where you just you probably would have gotten
crushed a guy?
Yeah, you probably would have got a target.
I would have been I'd have been out.
All right, Swope. I opened it up to McGee, not a therapy session, but just kind of where you at after last week, and as a team. Then we'll look at through your lens as a receiver.
Man, I'm disappointed. I think that they were the more physical football team. I think that they won in the trenches. They were more disciplined than we were. You know, we had a bunch of stupid penalties. We're putting the ball on the ground. You know, some costly interception there by Marcel. Just bad decision. And I feel like first and second down, we were going the wrong way. And so we were kind of, third and long. We just couldn't get in a groove. And so a little disappointed. I think that we can beat that football team. I think they're well coached, but I think at the end of the day, we just got out coached.
Yeah, and I think too, like in this league, if you don't play well every week, you can get your nose bloodied.
You can.
And it had been a long time since that team got their nose bloodied.
I know.
And to me, there's no sin in losing on the road at South Carolina. But as a player, and I asked McGee this in the last hour, when you come home from that and you got a bye week in front of you, would you rather have the bye week or would you rather play again on Saturday to try to get the taste out of your mouth?
That's tough. I think I'd rather have that bye week.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I think that you can do a lot in you're banged up a little bit, and then you go back to the film room and you can kind of go back to just making some of those adjustments, corrections, be more efficient on offense. Now we can, is Marcel our guy going forward? Well, let's go game plan for him a little bit differently. Let's, maybe do some design runs for him. It's kind of a numbers things in the box. We lost our best running back, obviously, so we got to be switch it up a little bit. We got to get him out in space, rolling out of the pocket, just doing some different things. And I think that right now that bye week is going to help us implement some new things that we should take advantage of with Marcel. Because I don't think he played terribly. I think he made some bad throws here and there, and the ball slipped out of his hands a few times, and they need to clean some of that up. But I also saw a lot of good things. He's making some really nice throws on the run. I love one. He's emerging. Mm-hmm. He's exciting to watch. I think that he's the first guy I've seen all year that I think he'll be a difference maker. I think he could be elite. But other than that, our receiver core is just, average at best. We've got to be better on,
Well, you're talking about moving the pocket and running. That's speaking OB's language. Like OB.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, it is. Because that's what they did for me when I was a quarterback.
At Red Oak. White Oak.
White Oak. I wasn't good enough to play at Red Oak.
Little East Texas White Oak. I love it.
When I was actually a 7th grade quarterback for the Tigers in Dallas, Texas, they designed the offense for my skills.
I love it.
How deep was your skill set?
About as deep as a puddle.
Swope, you talked about the receivers. How much can that be improved, especially during a bye week? And then you have New Mexico State. I mean, how much can the timing and spacing at this point in the year, can it get better? Can they get a better grasp of it? Or are you kind of working with what you got?
I think you can get, like Barber and Marcel, I feel like they're starting to build something a little bit of chemistry. You can see them on the same page. You could see one settling down in avoided defense, and Marcel was picking up on it and kind of figuring it out, which that's exciting for me. Now, the depth at receiver, and one thing me and McGee were talking about that I watched the game with McGee, we lack speed.
Yeah, there's no element down. There's no down vertical element right now, right? It's like Noah on a go ball, and that's about it.
Yeah, you gotta have. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs, man. They go get guys that are fast and they can separate, and we just honestly we don't have.
Well, they're trying to.
They're trying, but
Can
put
Bussey be that?
Yes, he can. I think he can.
But is his role going to expand now to be in the backfield more?
I think he'll be in the backfield.
And you're a good guy to ask. Like, is that feasible to do?
Oh yeah.
In this late in the year, like how much of the offense can he absorb, and how much can he impact the offense going from receiver to running back? You did the other, and you stayed at receiver your entire career.
Yeah.
But could you imagine trying to be asked to 8 games into your freshman year, 9 games into your freshman year? Hey, we know you've been learning this one position. We want you to go back here and learn another one.
It's a big ask, but it also I don't know how complex that offense is. But I think he can do it, and I think you can simplify some things to. It's
I think again, don't hesitate to tell me if I'm wrong, but it would seem like
that's his favorite thing to preface all his questions with.
Well, I don't want anybody to be saying, "Hey, I don't want to make OB look stupid." I do that on my own. But it seems to me that as long as you're asking him just to carry the ball, that you could come up with 3 or 4 plays to learn in an open week that you should be, as a running back.
Not asking a whole lot.
Well, as long as you're not asking him to learn
reading defenses and
I'm saying the pass protection and things like that. Hey, when we bring you in, we want you to run the football, because I've seen so many times freshmen come in and right away be able to to carry the ball, but they always say the problem is pass protection and learning some of the other things. But if I only had to learn 2 or 3 or 4 plays in which I carry the ball,
and that's coaching,
I would think you'd be able to get a guy ready.
That's game planning. You got a guy that's fast, elite, has speed, can catch the ball. He's young, but as a coach, you're going, all right, how can we get you involved where you're not overwhelmed and you feel comfortable? And so I personally think it's not too big of an ask to let's figure out a guy. We've lost Moss. That's just how the cards are dealt.
And that's why we're doing this, right? You're trying to mitigate that loss. The best player on your team. Yeah.
So how can we see so much potential? You're young, but we believe in you. So we're going to give you 5, 6, 7 plays that you're not thinking about who you got to block or who's protection or where's the safety, cover one. No, we're going to hand you the ball in some space, or you could just start throwing them some bubble screens. That's a great way to be
extension
efficient.
of the run game.
Yeah,
for sure. And I do think with a true freshman, and Mike, Coach Elko has said it time and again, like, we got to be careful with Terry. He's a true freshman. And not only is he a true freshman, first of all, he's a sensational kid and he's a very smart kid.
Yeah.
But he's coming from 2A football where there was they snapped the ball to him and he was like the best player on the field, just go make a play.
Yeah.
I do think there is an element of that is conducive to playing high-level college football, because from the time that Terry Bussey has been 7 years old, he's been the dude, the man. And so I think that they walk in, these small-town kids, sometimes they walk into these big atmospheres with that expectation of themselves. So, but there is a very fine line, and that's why these coaches get paid so much money, that you have to walk to where you want to get him more involved, but you don't want to stun his growth or his confidence going forward either. Because we anticipate him having a huge impact on this team in years to come.
Well, what I'm talking about, though, is as long as Amari Daniels and even EJ are in there, you're going to run the offense you can run all the time. What I'm saying is when they need a break, can you have just a package of 2 or 3 or 4 plays that Terry knows, or if it's not Terry, a defensive back knows, like if you want to move Javon Thomas over. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I'm saying if they did that, that you'd be able to get them ready.
Yeah. I think you
just for the break.
Absolutely.
And that's where New Mexico State may help. Having a bye in New Mexico State gives you a chance to tinker and experiment with some stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that this bye week's helpful, especially we're a little banged up right now. And but yeah, I think I'm excited about Bussy. I just would like to. I mean, let's throw him in the fire and see what he can do. That's my thing. It's the only way you can find out how a kid responds. I know that sounds terrible, but I think he's so talented. He's fast. 10 games in, he's getting some confidence. I mean, that's the only way you learn.
I would like to see him. Crazy. I'd like to see him
carry the ball bunch.
And if McGee was here, he'd probably fall out of his chair if I said, I'd like to see him incorporate some option into it.
I love it.
Like with him at quarterback?
No, I'm saying with
Whoa, pump the brakes.
Listen, OB's going, man. Once the trains get off the track,
I'm saying with Marcel, even though, I saw a play once where the guy like a Bussy comes in motion. You hand it to him as he's come like on a jet sweep, but your running back is lined up in such a way that then the guy who takes him on the jet sweep has the option.
We could get him a whiteboard. Come on.
Is this the White Oak offense?
No, it's only Cowboys use this with Ernie Mills.
This is like Mr. Coach Klein. Waterboard. I love it.
I saw the Cowboys.
He pretends to fake.
I saw the Cowboys use that successfully with when Chan Gailey was the coach, giving it to what was that guy's name?
Sure wasn't Dave Campo?
No, it was Chan Gailey. He was the guy. He was a receiver that came from Pittsburgh. I can't remember his name right now.
Oh man!
And they used it, and it was successful.
Well, here's one thing I'm confident in is that, I believe that this coaching staff
Probably
is having
Westlake.
This coaching staff, Mike Elko and Colin Klein. Like I think that they are exploring all their options, and I believe that this coaching staff, if they think that they deem it worthy to put Terry in the backfield and use him, they're going to do it. Like these conversations are being had, whereas maybe before. They weren't.
No, I think that they are trying to figure out a way to utilize him because I do think he's got that elite speed that we lack, and so
playmaking
ability, just getting him in space. We don't have that guy. I mean, one is actually pretty talented. I thought he played really well.
Jabri Barber.
Yeah, Barber.
Yeah, he's in fact.
Where's he from?
He came from Troy.
Troy, yeah. He's from Alabama originally.
And remember, he was the guy in the spring. I guess it was in the spring they were talking about how good he was, what a huge impact, and how he was turning everybody's head, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
Well,
but
he's so where are you at with the season?
Big picture. Honestly, big picture. I'll be completely honest with you. They have overexceeded what I would have thought that. I would have never thought that we'd be top of the SEC. Right now, in this league, first year coach, Coach Elko, and had a young team and really weren't sure where that identity was.
So much turnover.
And so man, I'm impressed. Now this last week humbled us. We got smoked. We got beat, and we got outcoached. I think that we bounced back. I'm not worried. I love Coach Elko and what
he said all those things.
Oh, and he'll admit it.
Yeah.
He said it.
Yep.
And so I think that they're working their ass off right now this week. They're getting healthy, and I think we come back and we see a different football team after this bye. I really do. I think that this is a really well-coached football team, and I believe in Coach Elko. And
does it come down to the Auburn game for you? If they go on the road and beat Auburn, then you're walking into the game against Texas.
What game it's coming down to.
But no. That's why I think it's the Auburn. But in terms of like this season.
You think they're going to beat Auburn?
I think we beat.
So that means you're walking into November 30th with a chance that if you beat Texas, you're 100%. Going to Atlanta. I don't understand how you could call that a failure. Well, you've got it all in your hands.
That's an incredible year.
Right.
Hey, I mean, look, at the start of the season, I was hoping for 6-7 wins.
Okay.
I mean, that's where I was at.
I'm still hoping for the conference championship. I know we all are. So they're going to beat New Mexico State. I'm expecting them to beat Auburn, and then that game against Texas. If they win it, I'm going to be willing to say what an incredible year. If they lose it, I'm going to say, oh, you know what? It was a good year that exceeded expectations.
Yeah.
I will not use the adjective incredible.
I just think I'm talking about walking into that scenario. That's everything you could have ever wanted, and probably a little bit more.
You would have absolutely taken
my
that
expectations
in July and August.
6-7 wins. So I'm saying they have. I mean, they overexceeded what I had.
Expectations change, just like they did you in 2012.
They do. And I think that's why I think that they're in a position where they feel like they can win. They're not just kind of going through the motions. This humbled our football team. We got whipped.
Well, all these kids that have come in here.
Sometimes you need to get your ass kicked to wake up. And I think it's the right time.
And Coach Elko said something like, a lot of times when you win, you don't learn as much as you should.
Right.
And that's very true.
Very accurate.
And it's the old adage, like, winning cures everything.
What do we think they learned from that game at South Carolina then?
Well, I don't know. You speak better than I can, but like there's going to be some level of like mentally you have to hook up every time you go out, or that's the result.
Yeah, I mean mentally you've got to be there. I feel like we were in position to make plays.
Didn't tackle.
You got to execute it.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't even see that as coaching so much as just disciplining to your assignment and finishing the play. You've got to finish.
I think they say this in basketball, and I think it applies to football, but there's going to be a certain amount of games that you exceed, you played at a higher level than you expected, and a certain amount of games where you just don't play as well as you can, and then who you are, the games right in between.
Yeah.
And I think that A&M probably has had a game, maybe it was Missouri, where you played better than, maybe you should. I won't say the LSU game because they played that first half poorly. And maybe that game against South Carolina, if not Notre Dame, was the game that look, you just didn't show up and play as well as you can. If A&M plays the rest of the games like they played most of the season, then they will win the next two. And I would absolutely not concede that game against Texas.
Well, the highs and lows that you're talking about.
Can you imagine?
That's going to be amazing.
Oh, it's going to be incredible.
It is.
The highs and lows that you're talking about are what make it's not going to be easy on the heart, but it's what makes this so intriguing.
Wow.
Is because the best version of A&M that shows up, they can beat Texas.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
But the worst version can get run off.
Oh, it can be
by Texas. Yeah.
Or Auburn.
You can lose to Auburn on the road, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's what makes this whole thing.
Well, and that's why I love the SEC is because you have got to show up every single week.
Right. Yep.
And if you don't, and that other team does, you're gonna get kicked in the teeth.
Swope, thanks for coming in.
Appreciate
OB, thanks for hanging around.
Yes, man.
All right, TexAgs Live on the other side. We got Aaron Torres come in and talk all things college football playoff rankings, maybe get a little bit of college basketball in as well. You're listening to TexAgs Live, as I said, on the Zone. All right, welcome back, everyone. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, the B Team edition. Ryan Brauninger in the host chair today. Our next guest is not a B teamer. He's always an A teamer. AT, Aaron Torres, national Fox Sports radio host, best-selling author, and he also has a pretty cool little podcast. AT, we are like the sports equinox. All your worlds are like starting to culminate in November and then even in December. This has got to be the peak sports moment of the year for you, like these times, these weeks.
All right, so confession time, and don't tell anybody I told you. This is just between you and I. First of all, I don't know if I talked to you over the summer, Bronny. Your coverage of the A&M baseball coaching search was unbelievable. I was listening to you and Nuno every morning. I found the whole story fascinating. Now we got to kick that burnt orange butt when they come to town a few months from now. But that's neither here nor there. So this is the sports equinox. Yeah, it is. Hoops started this week. I love college hoops, but I love college football. But I'll be honest, sometimes you just look at the schedule, it's Bama, LSU, it's Ole Miss, Georgia, even though it's Tennessee, Mississippi State. I didn't know Texas A&M was on a bye till I logged into this Zoom call and you were here and Nuno was nowhere to be found. So I thought this was actually New Mexico State week. And so, it's not that I'm not focused on my responsibilities in football or that I'm not paying attention to A&M. It's just that sometimes there's a lot going on, and it's a little hard to keep track of all. But I did not realize A&M was on a bye. I thought this was New Mexico State week.
Yeah, let me tell you, I'll let Nuno tell you why he's not here. You're going to get a good old belly laugh when you figure out where he's at and what he's doing, because it's so out of his nature. But it's for the company. Like, he's doing it with a sponsor. It's fun, but you're going to get a big kick out of it. I'm going to let him.
Tasting a is it a bar crawl?
No. It's not a bar crawl, and he's not going to eat like pizza. Like not that.
Okay.
But it is something that he wouldn't normally do. You'll find out about it, I'm sure, next week. Hey, let's do this. Let's talk college football playoff rankings. And I've got a list of teams. I did this with Olin in the first hour. And all I want is your take. Are they a contender or a pretender? Right?
For the playoff or to win the championship?
Well, the way I looked at it was, can they get in and then can they make a little noise?
Sure.
I'm not talking about contender to win to hoist the trophy. Can they get in and make a little noise? We're going to start with Texas A&M.
Yeah, they're definitely a contender to get in. I've done the math on all the playoff or all the SEC championship scenarios, and I'm pretty sure if Texas A&M wins out, they're in Atlanta, right? I could be mistaken, but Georgia and Tennessee have the tiebreaker. Obviously, you would have the head-to-head over LSU. Bama has 2 losses. Ole Miss has 2 losses. Texas at that point would have 2 losses. So listen. If you're a 10-2 SEC, an 11-3, obviously if you win the SEC, you're in. But I think even a 10-3 SEC runner-up, I find it hard to believe that they would not be in that field if you make it to Atlanta. So Texas A&M absolutely is very much in position. Obviously, a couple tough games in league play left.
Yeah, on the road at Auburn, I think if you're able to handle business there, AT, that you're walking into that November 30th game against Texas in year 1 under Mike Elko, with a chance to win and go to Atlanta. I think every A&M fan would have bit your arm off in August if you told them this is the scenario the Aggies are facing. Well,
no doubt. And I mean, obviously, look, you never wish injury upon anybody, but, you've had to juggle the quarterbacks. Wigman has not played. It has not played, consistently. He was injured, then whatever. We know the scenario there. But, no, I think absolutely every A&M would have taken this scenario. And I think it's also true. It's like the best case scenario, because there were guys like me in the preseason, and I know there were others, so I'm not saying I was the only one, but basically saying look, this could break right for A&M. They return a lot. The schedule is manageable. But you also were hesitant to do it because we've said stuff like that before about A&M in the preseason. So we're entering mid-November. Everything's in front of A&M. That's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, while we're on the Aggies, let's talk about your perception of the program under Mike Elko and your belief in him and the direction he's taken it.
Listen, they have an identity. I think that's all there is to it. And, listen, it hasn't always been pretty, some of the wins. But listen, you go back, and I know last week was not great. But, I still go back to second half against LSU, and we saw the postgame with Mike Elko in the locker room with the guys, and he said you physically made that team quit. And I don't remember all the stats now off the top of my head. I think it was 24 yards rushing on 23 carries for LSU, 243 yards maybe rushing for Texas A&M in that game. And that's who you want. Listen, it's one thing when a hire gets made for a guy like you or a guy like me or a guy like Nuno or a guy like Cole Kublik or whoever to say, listen, Mike Elko, he's going to bring that toughness and that edge and that mean spirit back to A&M. It's one thing for all of us to say it because that's what we believe will happen. It's another thing for it to actually happen in front of our eyes. And so I don't think there's any doubt. And then the other thing too, I would just say really quick, I don't think there was any real doubt, like, could Mike Elko recruit? He had been in the SEC, but you got a top 7, top 8 class coming in, whatever it is. And sometimes, you get these defensive, whatever, and they're really good at one specific thing or they're really good on game day, but how are they going to do in recruiting? And right now he has checked all the boxes, the recruiting, the on the field, the staff hires, you go on and on down the list.
Yeah, he's meticulous, he's organized, and he's intelligent. Those are good places to start. And a head coach now in what college football and college sports really is,
yes,
you better have a guy that can speak multiple languages and juggle multiple things. It can't just be about coaching football anymore. You're a psychiatrist, you're a salesman, you're a lot of different you're a lot of different things. All right, let's move on. Contenders, pretenders, the Indiana Hoosiers.
They're contenders. First of all, they're good, but the schedule breaks nicely, and I'll try to be quick on this because I know we're short on time. I do think going forward, these 16, 17, 18 team leagues, schedules are just going to be so imbalanced. It's going to be really tough in the preseason to really gauge who's going to be where by this time of the year. But Indiana's a contender. They don't play Penn State. They don't play Oregon. They do have to play at Ohio State. But listen, we all know an 11-1 Big Ten team, even if they don't play for the Big Ten championship and they would be on the outside looking in if Ohio State and Oregon went out, they're getting into the college football playoff. And so maybe they get tripped up along the way. Maybe they lose to Michigan this weekend, but that has not been the MO of that team. I think the Indiana Hoosiers are going to be in your first ever college football playoff,
crazy.
Which is something that I don't think any of us thought 2-3 months ago.
The conversations around open coaching jobs and Kurt Signetti going forward is going to be, I'm going to be here for it. I'm glad A&M's not going to be in the market. I think they're comfortable with what they got. All right, couple more for you. Colorado. Contender, pretender.
I don't know exactly all the Big 12 playoff tiebreaker scenarios, but they're tied for second place right now. And if they go to the Big 12 championship game and they win the Big 12, they're going to be in that 12-team college football playoff. Again, that's another scenario, by the way. BYU tied alone in the first place. Iowa State, Colorado tied for second place. None of those teams play each other. I'm going to beat a dead horse on this. It's the same in the ACC, by the way, with Clemson, Miami, and SMU. It kind of sucks. It's the new reality. But Colorado, weirdly, the backstretch of this schedule was supposed to be the tough part. Utah, at Kansas, Oklahoma State, all ranked in the preseason, combined 2-14 in the Big 12 right now. It's crazy how that season has unfolded.
AT, let me tell you this. What happens? Colorado wins the Big 12, and they don't play BYU in the final, and BYU is an 11-1 or 11-1 at that point. They're a bid stealer. You're a college basketball guy.
It's true.
If BYU loses the Big 12 title game, are they a bid stealer? It's an interesting, really interesting discussion. Tennessee.
Very much a contender. I think the path to Atlanta is kind of harder for them than the SEC, than the college football playoff. I think it's just going to be tough to ask them to go in and win at Georgia. Again, it'll be tough because, the thing with the SEC, there's going to be a lot of teams that finish in that 10-2, probably 10-2 range, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I did a scenario the other day where we could have like 5-6 teams finishing at 10-2. So I think Tennessee would get in. The other thing, if Alabama finishes 10-2, if Tennessee finishes 10-2, they got that head-to-head win over Alabama. So I actually feel pretty good about the teams that I think the pathway is a little bit tougher to get to Atlanta for. I would think Tennessee would get in as a 10-11 seed.
Last one, Penn State.
Again, it's hard to find a loss on the rest of their schedule, and it sucks.
I don't believe in them. I don't believe in them.
No, nor should you. I mean, listen, what is this? What was it? 1-14 against top 5 teams, but this is what the 12-team playoff has created. But again, I'm beating a dead horse. but it is the imbalanced schedules which drive me crazy because it's like, they're going to get in at 11. I mean, the last 4 games, Washington, I believe, at Minnesota, at Maryland, and Purdue or something like that. I mean, we're talking the bottom of the barrel. They really, you look at Penn State's schedule, they didn't challenge themselves. Well, I guess West Virginia was a challenge, but the way the schedule broke, USC isn't as good as we thought. Michigan isn't on the schedule. They don't play Indiana. They don't play Oregon. And so it is what it is. They're 11-1. I think there's a lot of teams that will probably be behind them that could beat them. But it's the way the schedule breaks.
I think they're going to get in. So from that perspective, they're a contender, but I think they're a pretender in terms of what kind of football team they are. All right, last thing, AT, we're going to get you out of here. Who wins the national championship in college basketball?
In college basketball, I'll say this. I'll try to be quick. Houston beating Bama was my preseason pick. I did watch Bama the other day. They are so deep and so big and so athletic. They obviously return a lot from that Final Four team a year ago, but they added guys in the portal. They added guys through the high school ranks. I mean, they go too deep at basically every position. I call them Noah's Ark. They got 2 of everything, and it's just like they're really good, man. They're really freaking good.
And Nate Oates can coach. He can coach.
And he's a great coach.
Yep,
and he's a great coach. And the defense, they specifically hired coaches to improve. That defense struggled last year. I think after the 1-game sample size, I will go Alabama.
Boy, who had it on their bingo card that Nate Oates may be more popular in Tuscaloosa than the football coach after a year?
I think he is. I think there's no doubt. Now, we'll see. Saturday night, it could be a different conversation. Yep. It's going to be a different conversation one way or the other. He's either going to be way more popular or it might be a dead even heat with the Boars. So.
AT, I always appreciate your time, buddy.
No problem, brother. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Yes, that's a great friend of the program, Aaron Torres. When we come back, we're going to flip it. O-line session with Coach Jimmy Turner that's been pre-recorded. So I don't know. I'll have to talk on-air production meeting. I may have to talk to Nick. I don't know if I'm going to say anything. It may just be coming back to Nuno and Coach Turner, but we'll see. We continue right along, bottom of the 9 o'clock hour on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
School's in session with Jim Turner here on TexAgs Live, and it's presented by Duck Camp. Duck Camp gear is made for the people that live for the moments out there, whether fish to catch, birds to hunt, time to kill, and football to watch. Check it out at duckcamp.com. All right, Coach Turner.
Yep.
Usually this season, A&M has won the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Unfortunately, this was not the case against South Carolina.
No, it's a great football game, of course, and obviously the highs and lows of every season, right? Each season has its own personality, and this is one of the things that happened obviously in this season, and you got to find a way to build off of it. We'll take a look at some of the clips and try and build off of that, as I'm sure they'll do over there, and get ready for the next week.
Great. I'll let you take it away.
All right, here we go. Okay, so just give me the first one. I'm going to go offense first, of course, right? And then I'll just show you. So right here, I want to show you this. So let that go for a second right off the bat, okay? So this is a pin and pull play right here, and it's a read. I want to show you this right here. Go back for me. Okay, so this is pin and pull. So this is a horn play. Leave it right there for me to the tight end. So what you're doing right now, so I got two clips of this on here right here. You have two receivers outside. So what he's doing right now is you all are used to the read run game, okay? This is a read run. I'm not a read run. This is a read pass, okay? And he's not the guy, okay, that's going to carry the football, okay? This is the man that's going to carry the ball. So you run the horn play. All right, and when you run the horn play, he's down, he's pulling around it, he's down, he's pulling around it, and you man up the backside. And that's the read for the quarterback, right? So you can see the safety's down here, so that's for those two. All right, then they're going to fold to him, and that's the read by the quarterback. If he bites on the run, he's going to throw the slant back here. Okay, if he sits right now, if he sits on the slant at all, if he doesn't go with the run at all, if he sits, he's going to hand the football off because he can't make the tackle. That's why whenever you read run, the last player in the box, okay, you want to run it off of outside zone, off of outside pin pull. So that's what the quarterback's looking at. So watch, you do it yourself right now. Go ahead, let it go for me. Watch now, there he goes. He breaks, he's going to throw the ball right now. And there's your throw. Well executed. Great catch by the receiver, of course. All right, go to the next one. Okay, so now you're here, right? So now you're running the same scheme, okay? So leave it right there for me. Go back just a hair for me. Okay, this is the same exact scheme. Now watch, the tight end is right here. So he's widened out a little bit, right? Because they're just saying, hey, listen, you're going to block whoever we designate as the Sam. So right now, right, if you're the center, right, just go back just a hair for me. If you can get it back. There you go. Perfect. All right, so watch now. I'm playing center right now. How do I ID this? All right, I want to leave one for the quarterback on the backside of this play. All right, so this is the safety right here. He is a safety. This is the Will, this is the Mike, and then the nickel Sam is outside. It doesn't matter, okay? You have to find the box defenders. So again, this is a read run for the quarterback. All right, so watch now. Normally, right, you look in the box, and it's these two players. He's reading that player. But now, considering the situation, the safeties are rolled the other way. That's the safety, which means we would love to run the football right now. If they just give you a premier look, okay, to run the ball, then we want to run the ball, of course. We don't want to do the RPO game. But considering what they've done right now, they dropped the safety down there. Why did they drop the safety down there? Because of this guy right here, of course, right? So he's the guy they're trying to keep somebody back there to stop the read run and all that. That's when he's got to pay the rent, which he does very well. He's a heck of a player, this guy right here. I didn't realize he was that big until the other day with 216 pounds, 5'9". That's a great size for a back, and he runs that way. So watch what they did right now. They stayed with the count right here, okay? They stayed with the count, and they ended up going to him, and they left that for the quarterback. And then the tight end went through for him. They don't want to do that right here. Because if I'm the quarterback right now, okay, I want to read that player, which right now, as soon as that player's walked up, okay, so you'd rather have the line work to him and let the tight end work to him. Leave that safety over the top, and now it's an automatic give read. Whenever the read, this would have been the read for the quarterback. So the center would have come up. In this instance, what he did was he worked to him, they were manned up, and now he's reading that player. Well, you got problems because you got an extra player over there. So whenever you're the center right now, right, you never want to be in this situation. You want to find the middle of the 3 players that are box players. He's now a box player. So if I'm the center, I want to call that guy out. That tells the tight end going right there. So when the center points to him, it's a Chico to him. Okay, now he's there. The tight end's blocking him. Okay, and they're manned up. And now that becomes the read. And you say on any of these plays when you're running RPOs, when the read is standing on the ball, it's a give read all the time because obviously he'll kill the play. Go ahead, let that go. Okay, you're going to see him come over the top right now. Okay, they end up manned up. You got Ruben manned up 5-5, but he's unblocked. Go back for me one time. So if you're the quarterback right now, so these guys right here, okay, so go back a little bit more. Okay, the 5 up front are not coordinated with him right now. Okay, and that is an awkward look right there. Okay, that is an awkward look, but that's why that's happened. Because you can see these 2 are blocking that play. The man up on the backside with the quarterback reading the backside linebacker. He's got to read that player right there instead. And that would be a give read. Then you'd have these 2 working back to him. The tight end would stay on 17. You're going to have a great play. Great, let it go. And there you go. So that's what happened on that play. So when you see it, you see that free runner. That's just a matter of coordination between the quarterback and the line. Okay, go to the next one for me. Okay, so now you're here, right? So this is your 3rd and 1 right here, right? So they had some issues in short yardage the other day, right? Not on this play. All right, this was a heck of a play right here. Okay, so they're going to run short yardage right here to the right. Okay, it's a downhill play. Great job by 78. Great reach. Okay, we struggled on the B block a little bit. Great job by 6-0. Okay, he's got to get his second step up the field. Go ahead, go.
Feels like a bad time to cut away. They were just talking. He's about to talk about Amari Daniels' run.
Well,
we're up against the clock. No, we're okay. We're up against the clock.
If you want to see the rest of it, you got to go to TexAgs.com and check it out.
The best producer in the land, Nick Savage. So when we come back, close this 9 o'clock hour. Get ready for the fan show again. Short 10 o'clock hour due to Aggie women's basketball. Here at home at Reed Arena, starting. I think they call it the elementary day. So they're going to start that at 11, so they'll be on the radio, on the broadcast there from Reed Arena. All right, we come back, close this 9 o'clock hour, get you ready for the fan show. You listen to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Gonna let that one run a little bit.
I appreciate that all the versions they're playing are from that live Billy Bob's album.
It's a great album.
It is.
One of the
Fantastic.
greatest Texas music albums. That one and that Randy Rogers album and their Roller Coaster albums, iconic albums in Texas music history. That Down and Out by the Randy Rogers Band is probably a top 5 Texas music song for me all time, I would say. Used to listen to it every morning when I was in the truck waiting to start 5 a.m. running when I was playing at McNeese. I don't know. It just got me in like a good, feel good, I know I'm about to do something I hate headspace. And like that is where it crawled into my system and stayed as like a elite song for me. Anyway, I digress.
What's that for you, Juan? Sabrina Carpenter, Katy Perry, something like that?
No, probably, I have to think. Probably Creed. I'm like really big into Creed recently.
That's respectable.
Yeah.
That's Juan Marcos Palomo over in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Don't forget, interact with the show. Boss Firearms Hotline, Little Sluggers text line, 979-693-1150. We have an open segment here, Juan Marcos, so give me whatever you got.
Well, we've been talking about football. We've been talking about basketball. I'm going to pivot here to Aggie baseball.
I love Aggie baseball.
JB in Canyon is asking, with 100 days till opening day, who are the top 3 newcomers for Aggie baseball next year?
99 days till opening day.
99.
Right,
well,
yesterday was 100. Yeah, 99 now.
Mm-hmm.
Into double digits. But I could go 2 ways with that answer. We could go position player, top 3 newcomers. I would go Wyatt Hensler. I'd go Gavin Cash. And give me a catcher. One of the catchers. There's 2 catchers. Bear Harrison or Jacob Galloway. On the pitcher's mound, newcomers. Miles Patton for sure. Grant Cunningham had an interesting fall. I still believe that he's going to be a high impact guy. And then how about a freshman, true freshman, Gavin Lyons on the pitching side. And if I had to go true freshman on the hitting side, it'd be Terrence Kill Jr. And if I had to expand the hitters by one more, if I could go 4 transfers and then 1 freshman, I mentioned 3 transfers in TK, I'd go Yamal George. I love Yamal. I think having a versatile player like that is so high energy, he's so good for the locker room, he's so good for the dugout. I think Yamal's going to play a lot and have a chance to really impact games. He'll get spot starts, but also impact the back end of games because of what he can do defensively. You can insert a pinch runner here or there, and you can put him just about anywhere. So I think his versatility is going to lend itself to a lot of playing time, and I think it's a guy that's probably really still slept on by the A&M fan base as a newcomer. So, again, I could talk about this Aggie baseball roster, the schedule. I've got some big thoughts on the schedule now that it's completely out. But I don't know if we're going to have time to get to that today. Maybe tomorrow would be a good time for it. All right, when we come back, Fan Show on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, it's everybody's favorite hour of TexAgs Live every week. No, I'm not talking about the Go Hour. Everybody loves Olin. It is the fan show. Fan show. And I've been told I must read this verbatim. Okay, it's sponsored by Prize Picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you one win on Prize Picks every. Oh, this is the old one.
I was gonna say, yeah, that ended up.
That is the old one. When are we going to update this thing? Listen, you can't put success at 10 foot high and give me a 5 foot ladder. Okay. I can't be blamed for that one. I knew I was going to screw something up, but I can't be blamed. That's why it's called the B Team edition of TexAgs Live. Roy May, Sutton Turner, Matt Brauning here.
Howdy.
The Aggies coming off a really tough loss in Colombia, South Carolina. I have opened this up today to McGee and to Swope. It's like a therapy session. I don't care who starts. Roy, I'll just pick you. Where are we at in terms of the micro and the macro on this football season?
So micro is generally the boards where everybody just freaks out in the moment, right? And there's no getting past what happened on Saturday, right? I mean, it happened, and we all saw it with our own eyes. Just a poor performance and disappointing loss with Le'Veon going out. Like Saturday just sucked, right? Like just I don't need to give you any sort of technical jargon to say Saturday sucked. All right. That said, on the macro, we have literally everything in front of us. Literally everything in front of us. You have 3 games left. You get a bye week. So the people that at this point in the season, everybody's dinged up. Everybody is, right? Even if they're not on an injury report, everybody's hurt by this time of the season. Okay. Got a week to kind of get your mind right. I hope that, I think a lot of people, I saw it a lot on the boards that were like, we need to flush this. No. You don't flush that performance. Maybe you spend a little bit more time in the film room and be like, hey, this was an issue, and this is why this was an issue, and we're going to fix it this week. And I know weeks ago, before we headed when we were heading our first bye week, Max Wright had touched on it. Your bye week, that practice, there's 2 days of really getting after it, but then it's, let's take that extra time and let's get in the treatment room and, and let's just give them a little breather, right? Because it's a long season. But those 2 days, I hope there was an immense amount of, and I know it sounds childish, but man, just tackling drills. It was tough to watch on defense. They came and said there were 25 missed tackles. I think I counted 25 on one play. So 25 seems low to me. Offense sputter. There's a lot to look back at and fix, and it's not just from the player's perspective. There's a ton of hope that the coordinators, and I trust in Mike Elko, so which means I trust his coordinators, right? That they went back and looked at their performance, and they took a real hard, deep look inwards and said, how can I make this better? And especially now that you're missing a key part of your offense.
The best player on your team.
100%.
He's been the best player on the team.
Yeah. He's been one of the best players in the conference, which means you're one of the best players in the nation, quite frankly. That's how that's how that extrapolates. Mm-hmm. But again, how do we do this? How do we fix this moving forward? And I know that it's late in the season, and everybody will say, well, you are who you are, and that's fine. But defensively, that was just a poor performance, and it's not something you can flush in my mind, but it's something you can 1,000% rectify. Offense is where I'm going to be interested to see the adjustments moving forward.
Sutton, Coach Elko said this week that the winning, a lot of times when you win, you don't learn as much as you should. And so maybe by him admitting that and saying that, this could be an eye-opener, and that's it for this team. Because if I'd have told all of you guys in August that Texas A&M is going into that final after the last bye week, they're going to go into that final 3 weeks where if they win games, they are going to the SEC championship and the playoff. You'd have taken it.
Yeah, and I think he has their attention. There's no more ability, no more margin. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I went back and looked historically. So you go back a long time. When I was in school in 93, September 11th of 93, we went to Oklahoma. They were in the Big 8. We absolutely got our butts handed to us. We were the 5th-ranked team in the country, and absolutely they scored 24 points on us in the 4th quarter and beat us 44-14. That was Corey Pullig, not Leland McElroy, Greg Hill, Rodney Thomas. They go on and win the rest of their games. Face the T-Sips in Kyle Field. Texas is 6-1 or 5-1. We're 6-0. Got to win the Texas game to play in the Cotton Bowl. And we literally, if we beat Texas, hard, tough game, and then go to the Cotton Bowl and get outscored there, we would have won that game in the Cotton Bowl, possibly end up second in the country or for a tied for the national championship. We played horrible in that Oklahoma game. 6 turnovers. It was totally different than the rest of the season. And that's what I think we just happened. When we went to Oklahoma, it was a hornet's nest. I went up there that day, just like in 22 and in 24 in Williams-Brice Stadium. It's a hornet's nest. And if you get down in a hornet's nest, you're going to lose the game. The momentum of the stadium is going to beat you, and we beat ourselves. So I just think that I think the coaches have their total attention. I think they're going to have had a great bye week. We'll play New Mexico State. We'll beat them, and I think we're going to go, and I'm going to go to the game to Auburn, because I think that it's going to be a perfect tune-up to play the T-Sips here and to either go to the SEC championship game or depending upon what happens with LSU, we could just be going to the playoffs with a win against Texas.
Yeah, a lot to play for, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it's anytime you have a new coaching staff, you're judging them on a lot of different metrics, right? You know, we started with them. Hey, what's his road record going to look like? How are we going to play on the road? Which we played well. We've got a couple wins on the road. Like you said, this is a hornet's nest. This was a buzzsaw we ran into.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of want to see how he's going to come back from a loss like this. You know, the coaching staff. Remember what happened in 2016? We start off hot, we lose a game, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. How do we recover from a loss like this? How do we coach the guys up? You know, I've said many times, you know, the best coaches, you know, the old curmudgeons of the Sabans, Belichick's, Popovich, you know, guys like that. They always love a loss because that's coaching moments. Now, you don't love a loss in college football as much because there's very little wiggle room, but we have a little more wiggle room now with the 12-team playoff, everything else. So how do we recover from this? The fact of the matter is we have literally everything still in front of us.
Yep.
We still control our own destiny, which is unbelievable. With 3 games left, like you just said, had you said to me at the beginning of the season, we had 3 games left and we still control our own destiny, I'd be like, I'll take that right now. Nobody I know would have said no to that.
And if you were going to lose, if you had to pick one of LSU and South Carolina to lose, it was South Carolina.
100%.
Because that beating LSU is going to go a long way in those head-to-head conference metrics with all the imbalances to the conference schedule. I want to ask you guys.
Especially if they win this weekend.
We're going to have to do shorter segments because we got to get out of here for women's hoops. But I want to end this segment with this, and we'll get quick thoughts, is Mike Elko. I think he's got some trust equity now, or at least he should, with the fan base from my perspective. But I'm asking y'all, does Mike Elko, has he built up enough trust for you where you feel like whatever happens going forward, I'm okay with the direction of the program?
100%. I am, because we always talk, you know, but we felt that way about Jimbo early. We felt that way about Sumlin early. But this is different, man. This is like, you know, he is, like they always say, he's an old coach. He's a football coach. And that's what we needed. We needed a guy like him. We don't need the flash and pop that we had with Sumlin, and this is different. And so, you know, his passion and his detail-oriented focus, you know, all that sort of stuff. I'm like Roy said earlier, I trust him, so I trust his coaching staff. I'm not, you know, this is absolutely what we wanted to see in the first year of the Elko regime.
I mean, the fact that after that LSU game, he says right before in front of the team that the South Carolina game is going to be the toughest game that they played all year. Like he knew immediately after LSU, we've got to focus. This is going to be really hard. And we've got guys like BJ Mays and Shane Calhoun that have never played in a road environment that was like that. And even if you tell the kids what it's going to be like, they hadn't experienced it. And I'll tell you another thing. Texas has not experienced and will not experience a road hostile environment their entire season until they play in Kyle Field. And Kyle Field will be that hornet's nest that Williams-Brice was. It will be that.
They do play at Arkansas, and Arkansas will be loud
at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
with
still.
Banged up quarterback and their best player out.
No, I'm just saying they will play in a somewhat hostile environment.
No, I'm just telling
not
you,
near the
it
same.
won't be anywhere close to Williams-Brice at night.
Yeah.
And A&M's got one on the road at Auburn still. And if you hiccup there, then a lot of people start asking questions. Roy?
I don't think there's any reason to falter at this point. I mean, quite frankly, we have incredibly small sample size. And people, the naysayers are going to point to Notre Dame, they're going to point to South Carolina. Well, I'm going to point to Florida, I'm going to point to Arkansas, I'm going to point to Missouri, I'm going to point to LSU. And so overall, and like you said, this is a hindsight kind of thing, but before this season started, if I'd have told you we're going to be sitting where we're sitting, even coming off a disappointing loss in Colombia, you would have taken that and 100%. Absolutely run out the door with it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, when we come back, more to get to with these guys on the Fan Show as we prepare you for Aggie women's basketball at the bottom of the hour over at Reed Arena. You listen to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back, TexAgs Live, not Texas Live.
Yeah.
That's in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Fort Worth, Arlington, something like that. Roy May, Matt Browning, and Sutton Turner here. Continue our conversation surrounding Aggie football. We talked about your trust equity in Coach Elko. What are some of the areas that you are concerned about through these next 4 games, and then where are maybe some areas you feel good about?
I think that I know we didn't tackle well across the board on defense. I mean, how many times did we hit the quarterback and we didn't get a single sack?
All of them,
9, I think.
To me, that's that was the anomaly, right? That's the outlier so far.
Yeah, I mean, we were playing Superman back there. I mean, the kid had the game of his life. I don't never see anything like it, but we didn't wrap up. But I mean, I still obviously feel good about our defense. I think that with a week off, they had time to put some wrinkles in that we weren't ready and we weren't ready to see. And so defensively, I think and the pride on that defense, you can just see it in those guys when you hear them talk. The defense is going to be fine. I think that I don't have any issue with the defense. I think that everything's going to boil down still to offensive production, especially now without Le'Veon. What are we going to do? I mean, we're a running team. We've made that our identity. We're a running team, and we just lost our best runner. So what are we going to do? How are we going to fix that? And what are we, to get these 3 last W's, in the bag, So that's where I stand. I'm good on defense. It's just still the offense is
to me, early in the season, Notre Dame, McNeese State, we had some real problems with our penalties. We corrected it with the LSU game and got better. And then, when we have more than 10 penalties, it's ridiculous. And especially pre-snap and post-snap penalties. To me, that's correctable. That's coaching. Hopefully that was a huge emphasis this week. But we to beat Texas here, we have to eliminate that and our penalties.
Well, if you have that many penalties on the road at Auburn, you're going to be in a dogfight.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, you bring up penalties. I was fascinated that South Carolina played a perfect first half.
We did decline 2 penalties.
Okay, 2, really?
I know.
Yeah,
I was starting to scratch my head at it at halftime, too.
Yeah, but we talked about this earlier this week, actually, buddy of mine. Good teams blame the penalties. Great teams overcome it, right? When the calling's bad. So my concern, one of my biggest concerns all year is where the tight ends been.
We've got 3.
I thought when Marcel was reinserted as a starter, because whenever he was in the game against Florida and Bowling Green, Theo was making plays, and we just haven't. Yeah, you're right.
Watson, you got Theo. You got a lot of talent at tight ends, and now I think so. This is moving forward. You're going to have to, man, because again, you lost Moss, and like we were talking off air, not just the best back, probably the best player on the team, one of the best players in the SEC. And he's gone. That's all there is to it. Mm-hmm. What I really want to see is some sort of big package, because if we don't have Moss to bruise it forward, put Theo in the backfield as the lead blocking fullback. Give Albert Regis the ball. Look, we can make fun of Lane Kiffin all you want to, but he's got a big package that works, right? I would love to see something like that out of our offense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just and play around with it. No offense to New Mexico, but man, they are bad. You've got a week to really play with some things before you got to finish off your SEC stretch. So my concern, again, the tackling a bit of a blip, right? Because of what we've seen all year.
100%.
The penalties, they're not even a concern anymore. I'm just numb to them, But what I'm looking forward to is how Colin Klein makes this offense more dynamic because of the loss of your key piece.
Yep. You're not, again, it's the old Moneyball adage, right? You're not having to recreate Le'Veon Moss. You can't do that.
No.
Cannot. There's nobody on the roster.
Just got to get on base.
You got to just recreate him in the aggregate. So how do you come up with the production of yards lost? It doesn't have to be from Amari. It doesn't have to be from Theo. It doesn't have to be from Noah or Jabri or Terry.
Just collective.
It's collective, right? Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of talk about the role of Terry Bussey going forward. I asked Ryan Swope, I said, is it feasible to expect a kid who came in as a DB, then moved to receiver, and you're going to give him essentially 2 weeks to learn running back? How much can you put on his plate? And Swope was like, you can certainly give him stuff. You don't want to overwhelm him. You don't want to have him reading Mike linebackers and judging delayed blitzes and pass protection.
5 to 8, 5 to 10 touches.
Yeah, but here's my response to it is I believe we have a coaching staff now that is actively looking at that.
100%.
Like I don't think they're going to leave any stone unturned here.
You'd hope they would.
Well, and again, that's the big thing. I would love to see tight ends. And what do we always say about freshman quarterback? Tight end's their best friend, right? Well, then let's use them.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic of the schedule because of the bye week in the New Mexico State.
Yeah.
I was always of the opinion when I played, and I wasn't a great player, and I didn't play on great teams, but when we played bad, I wanted to go play again to get the taste out of my mouth. But McGee and Swope both said they think that the bye week's good. And so you not only get a bye week, then you get New Mexico State, which for all intents and purposes is scrimmage, right?
Yeah.
So you do have time to work on this stuff. I'm super intrigued. New Mexico State, when I saw on the schedule, whatever. November game against the team from Las Cruces, whatever. Now, I'm real intrigued to see what runs out there.
Well, and you get to run stuff against people that aren't maroon and white as well. You know, you actually get to run stuff live against a defense that's reacting to maybe some new tweaks that you put into the system.
What color red is that?
I don't know.
New Mexico State.
Bad. Whatever it is, they're just bad. They're so bad. They're so bad at football.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Connor run out there and start. I'm not kidding. I mean, think about it, right? You're trying to keep everybody, the other defenses on their toes and who to prepare for because you have two very different quarterbacks. You give Connor time. I mean, again, the passing game, because we've taken a hit with the running game, with losing Le'Veon, the passing game.
Throws.
So, I mean, again, and let's not forget something. Connor can be fantastic. Connor can be amazing at times, right? He's got to get, I mean, and truly, a good Connor gives us the best chance to win. I think a good Connor, it gives us a better chance to win over anybody, right? But you take him, you go in there to this New Mexico State game, give him a half, let him get get some confidence going back again. But then you go into the next week, and Auburn now is preparing for two different quarterbacks. They don't know who's going to start, but you're giving Connor another chance to go out there and play. I wouldn't.
But the South Carolina loss is not on Marcel Reed.
It's not on Marcel Reed at all.
He played. For the amount of games that he was in and the hornet's nest that we were in, he was totally good enough.
I'd hesitate on that because you can't put the ball on the ground that many times and say you were good enough to win. And then the bad interception driving late. Which is the same as like Connor wasn't good enough to win against LSU, clearly.
He was good enough to not be the reason.
He was fine. Right. He was fine. There were other contributing factors greater than Marcel.
Yeah.
But he could have played better, no question.
All I'm saying is New Mexico State is a chance to get him out there, maybe knock some rust off, maybe get some confidence back, and give Texas and Auburn some more things to think about leading up to our game.
All right, let's go to a break. We come back. We got Prize Picks next, Nick. Shake your head. All right, Prize Picks with Matthew Dawson. Everybody, I love ribbing on Matthew Dawson. He's one of the smartest human beings of all time. The best kind. Yes, the best kind. And hopefully he'll help you win some money. So when we come back, we'll close the fan show. Or no, we won't. We're going to Prize Picks with the fan show we're getting ready for Aggie women's basketball. All right, TexAgs Live presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Tracy Lawrence. Most underrated country music artist of the 1990s, Tracy Lawrence, bringing you back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are inside the Rollo Insurance Studios, and we are currently undertaking the fan show, which is presented by Prospects, which I now have the correct read for. It's the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. I hope so. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Don't miss the deal on Prospects. And with that, we welcome in our sharp, Mr. Matthew Dawson in the Angry Elephant Social Center.
Sometimes. All right, I got 12 more than less than player projections for you guys for this week in the college
These
football
guys are
slate.
prepping too. Well, that side has. Go ahead.
I mean, I guess I'll update standings real quick. Hunter's in first. David is in second. Matt, you are in third. Roy, you are in last. But it's all very tight within like a couple games of each other. So y'all are still.
I was above 500 last week.
Steely,
yeah, you were good.
Steely looked
First time
on
I've
Roy
ever done
May.
that.
Yeah, when he hears the news that he's in last. He's focused.
I'm terrible at daily stuff.
Well, you were in a good spot after last week. It was just after the week before last week.
I mean, honestly, the way is razor thin as it is, all you have to do is just 2 good weeks in a row, and you can be in first
So the
place.
last time I was on, I won, and then y'all haven't invited me back yet. So I guess I don't know.
Talk to Shirtliff.
Yeah, I think you did. You went 7-5 last time you were on. So
Yeah.
Come on.
Could be good
All
luck.
right, here we go. Let's go. Got to move.
Jackson Dart, quarterback for Ole Miss, playing against Georgia at home. Is he going to have more than or less than 275.5 passing yards?
I think he's going to have more.
If the injury report, which includes 26 players by Lane Kiffin, if that's true, I'm going to go less than.
Less than Georgia beats Ole Miss.
We go more just because Georgia's going to beat them and they're going to have to throw to try and.
So
stay
that was my thinking.
Alrighty, we got Curtis Rourke, the quarterback for Indiana. Is he going to have more than or less than 261.5 passing yards against Michigan?
I think he's going to have less than, but they're still going to win.
More. I got questions about that thumb, though, but I'm still going more.
Yeah.
I think Michigan's checked out.
I agree with you. Michigan's going to get hammered.
He's averaging 275 a game, so this is easy. It's more.
Next one, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback of Colorado. He's traveling to Lubbock to play Texas Tech. Is he going to have more than or less than 328.5 passing yards?
Hold on, there should be weather reports. Go ahead.
328 against Tech. Oh, that's easy. That's all day. I'm going to go more.
I'm trying to make sure it's not going to rain mud. It's not.
No, it's just going to rain tortillas.
And batteries.
67 degrees and sunny and wind 15 miles an hour. I'll go more.
More. They beat Tech.
Yeah, I've got more. Deion's trying to win a Heisman out there in Colorado.
Tech is also 133rd in the country.
Hey, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt this, but we were trying to think about it earlier. When was the last time a team stormed the field after beating A&M? Texas Tech.
Oh, that when they threw the
they tore up down their own. They were picked to win. They were ranked. We were below 500, and they tore their own goalpost down and tried to shove it up in the stands where we were.
Mr. McKinney got a little scuffle.
There was a little scuffle in that game. Sorry, go ahead, Matthew.
Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback for LSU. Is he going to have more than or less than 290.5 passing yards against Alabama at home?
I think he's going to have to. So, yes, I'm going more.
Less.
I agree, less. LSU gets beat at home by Bama.
Yeah, I got less.
Alrighty. Taj Brooks, the running back for Texas Tech, playing against Colorado at home, like we mentioned before. Is he going to have more than or less than 125.5 rushing yards?
He's going to have less than.
No, more. Here's why. Taj Brooks, the most underrated back in the country. That kid's going to play in the NFL.
Colorado beats Tech, less.
I've got more.
Alrighty. Then we got Jalen Milroe. I'm going to go quarterback now for rushing total. Jalen Milroe is going to have more than or less than 44.5 rushing yards.
Oh, I mean, hey, we saw what happened last time a running quarterback played against LSU. So I'm going to go with more.
More.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe is Marcel Reed 2.0 more.
I wouldn't go that far, but I think Alabama saw what we were able to do with the RPO situation, and he already averages. I mean, he averages 47.5, and that's just them playing regular football.
He could pop one run for 28, 29.
I got more. Yeah, I've got more. I think they focus on the quarterback run against LSU.
Quinshon Judkins, running back for Ohio State, is going to have more than or less than 88.5 rushing yards.
It's a tough number.
Versus who?
Purdue.
They're playing against Purdue.
I'm going to say more.
No, it was a tough number just because of
Yeah,
what he
less, because I
averages.
don't think either him or Travion Henderson's going to be playing much in the second half.
I think it's more.
Yeah, it's a tough number because of what he averages, but Purdue is just so bad.
Bad.
Like I've got to go more.
They're like 1-7 or something like that.
Yes, they are bad.
All right, we'll come back on the other side of the break with the remainder of this list. We'll finish out with Matthew Dawson and prize picks before we kick it over to Reed Arena. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, really quickly, final segment of the show here. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Back over to the Angry Elephant Social Center to Matthew Dawson so we can round out these fan show prize picks.
Caleb Johnson, the running back for Iowa, is going to UCLA tomorrow night. He's going to have more than or less than 125.5 rushing yards.
Less.
More. I think Iowa's actually don't sleep. The Hawkeyes played well on offense last week and blew out Wisconsin.
Yeah, more than against UCLA.
Or less.
All right, Arian Smith, the wide receiver for Georgia, is he going to have more than or less than 56.5 receiving yards against Ole Miss on the road?
More.
Less. I don't believe in Carson Beck right now.
More.
That's below his average. I'm going to go more.
Georgia totally beats Ole Miss this week.
Colston Loveland, the tight end for Michigan, is he going to have more than or less than 63.5 receiving yards against Indiana?
Less.
I can't on good conscience take any more on a receiver in a Michigan uniform this year. Less.
Totally agree with you, Les.
Longest winning streak in the nation, Army throws the ball better than Michigan. So I'm going less.
It's our first clean sweep.
There we go. Jeremy Bernard, the wide receiver for Alabama, who's been playing better, is he going to have more than or less than 57.5 receiving yards against LSU?
I think he's going to have more.
Pass. Come back to me.
More.
That's above his average on a regular basis. I'm going to go less.
Yeah, I'm going to go less too. I think if Bama's going to win the game, they're going to do a lot of it on the ground. Yeah. And I think I could see Milroe running for 90 and passing for 115, and they win the game.
I could see that too. Travis Hunter, the last play of the day. Travis Hunter is going to have more than or less than 101.5 receiving yards against Tech on the road.
More.
I went Shadur Sanders more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got to go Travis Hunter more. I can't imagine Shadur Sanders throwing for more than 328.5 and Travis Hunter not getting 100 of it.
Yeah, and I think Travis Hunter gets a ton of yak yards. Of this, it's a ton of yak yards because Tech cannot tackle.
Yeah, well, I said it earlier. Like they're trying to win a Heisman out there for somebody. That's a more.
So Roy, the resident Colorado hater, more than on Shadur and Travis.
Well, every time I pick
Let me
against
tell you
them, I
this.
lose, so.
We talked about it in the show.
I can still hate them.
If they go to Lubbock and win, they're going to go to the Big 12 title game.
Yeah.
And then the Big 12 becomes a potential bid-stealing league.
Yeah.
Because you got the BYU issue in there.
Yep.
Barf.
It's crazy.
It is.
But that's where we're at.
It's nauseating is what it is.
Listen, you can not like Deion all you want. They've won games. They got really lucky against Baylor. But they've also put together great performances against UCF and Arizona. I don't expect them to be any good beyond this year, ever. I think.
Do you expect him to be around once
that's what I'm saying. Like, Shadur's leaving, Travis Hunter's leaving. I think we'd see a mass exodus out of Boulder.
Including the head coach.
But he's done a good job this year. You can't argue that. Guys, thanks for stopping in. I apologize that we're getting cut short. But
thanks, Bronny.
Got women's basketball at Reed Arena. If you are an elementary school kid, get over there. If you're not,
hop in your car.
Hop in your car. Make sure you have earplugs and get over there.
It is a loud game. If you're not an elementary school kid and you're going to this game, it's loud. It's fun. It's a ton of energy. I love what Gary Blair did for bring all the kids out, but it's loud.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back here tomorrow on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.